He writes for The Telegraph, one of the biggest newspapers in England. We appreciate James Dillingpole joining us today. Great analysis. We're continuing with your phone calls. I've got a privacy expert coming on to deal with Google, Facebook, and others, and their admitted connections to the CIA, and just how they're openly surveilling basically everybody. Google's little white vans are doing a lot more than taking photos of your house. They admittedly are sucking in all the digital transmissions, mapping all the wireless networks, and surveilling you. That is coming up. And, of course, Al Gore is on the board of these organizations. Al Gore's on the board of Apple. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Oh, and we have the iPhone, iPad, hundreds of thousands of their customers just had all of their data, all of their names and information released. So that's the downside of the digital age. But going back to Mr. Dillingpole and your phone calls, and again, I'm not poo-pooing troops down there in the Gulf, and Obama did say he was sending SWAT teams, which was bizarre. It's just that I made phone calls, and the people said there are no troops here in the towns where they were supposedly all over the place. Now, I've got a CBS News here. Troops invade Chicago for training. Downed planes, rail car crash, and simulated terror attack simulations. Now, that's real, but I digress. Jack in California, you're on the air with Mr. Dillingpole. Go ahead. Hey, Jack, how you doing, buddy? You want to talk on air? Okay, he doesn't want to talk on air. Truth Patriot. Okay, who should we go to next then? Kathy in Texas, you're on the air.
Yes, hi. I've got a question for Mr. Dillingpole. I have heard the CEO of BP state publicly on television that BP will be 100% responsible for the cleanup in the Gulf. So if this is the case, then why are we hearing that Obama wants to put a tax on us for cleanup in the Gulf if BP is 100% responsible?
I'm not sure what's going to happen in this particular case. I mean, I would have thought that BP will pay up. I think what is absolutely wrong about this is the way that Obama is using this to stoke up anti-British rhetoric and to talk about kicking ass and stuff like that. It's an absolute nonsense. Of course, when a company pollutes, and let's not forget that the actual rig that blew up was not being run directly by BP. It was being directed by a company called Transocean, which was actually, and Halliburton was responsible.
And by the way, Halliburton's now based in Mumbai. All these companies are destroying the sovereignty of England, the U.S., and they're just dividing and conquering us, blaming it on Brits when Brits have nothing to do with this, just like Americans have nothing to do with it. The Americans have nothing to do with the Federal Reserve other than the fact we let this private group sit on top of us and abuse us. It's an asinine diversion. It's like MSNBC with their talking point that if you don't want government-run health care, you hate black people. It is a distraction and a divide-and-conquer tactic. So now it's the redcoats' fault that we've got an oil spill, and now you're a racist if you don't want government running your health care.
He's sounding a lot like Chavez, isn't he, Obama, these days? I mean, this is a sort of thing, classic Chavez behavior. You've got domestic problems, blame somebody else. Blame abroad, blame capitalism.
Well, we do it, too. They're now saying that Osama bin Laden's in Iran, James, so we have to attack. and maybe if, there's a housing project coming through and they want your property and you won't sell, James, they'll just say Al-Qaeda's in your house. James Dillingpole, I appreciate you joining us today. Always informative. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Bye-bye.
You bet. Thank you. We're going to come back, take a few more calls, and then we've got a guest coming on to talk about security issues. I'm determined to really open the phones up about the oil spills. People can vent and get your take on it, how it's being used as a political distraction, how the feds won't let the states fix the problem from day one, and there really were ways to mitigate this. But why are the states letting the feds tell them they can't? I mean, if I want to brush my teeth, I don't call the White House and say, can I brush my teeth? Or if I had a broken pipe in my house, I don't call the feds to get permission to fix the broken pipe. I mean, this is pathetic. But also, after we've gone through Avon, Jerry, John, Josh, Mike, and others, we got a guest coming up for about 30 minutes. But after we've gone through these calls, I'm going to just open the phones up for 30 minutes or so to just get calls from people who are on the Gulf Coast. Have you had armed men, police, BP, military, in Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, tell you can't be on the beach where oils come in, that you can't videotape it? Because that's on CBS and ABC, footage of men pulling up with guns, saying you can't be on this public beach, get out of here, orders of BP. And it's local police or it's Coast Guard. I mean, we've got those articles and videos for now 2 weeks up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. This is outrageous. So I'm not saying it isn't true that troops are deploying and getting ready to evacuate people to 100 miles. I mean, they had troops getting ready for total martial law 3 months before the flu popped up and telling locals it was for flu in January, and nothing came of it, and now the media admits it was a hoax. I'm not saying this can't go on. I mean, hell, they got military checkpoints popping up all over the country, confirmed. I just want to confirm it because I saw the names of the towns back a few days ago, and it looked credible, and I think it's credible for folks to ask the question if they're getting these reports. But I called up some hotels and places in the towns. I went on the search engine, looked up maps, looked where they said the troops were, and they said, no, there's no troops here. We wish there were. We wish they'd let us fix this. Then I'd call the Dairy Queen. I called a gas station. I mean, look, I get on the telephone, folks. I mean, I do some real work around here. My crew does a great job. And so we'll open the phones up, and I've got listeners in every town along the Gulf Coast. And if we don't get calls that have seen the troops, then it's a fraud, okay? Or a false report, or maybe there was a training exercise and people got spooked by it. I don't know. But if it's true, and it could be true. In fact, I had it in my stack. Will you guys reprint me? Because it comes from a good website. I mean, I like some of the stuff they've had. It's been a bunch of places. Will you reprint me that about troops getting ready to take over Gulf Coast or whatever? I already digress. It gives me a big headache. Avon in Florida. You're on the air, Avon.
Well, sir, it is an honor and pleasure to speak with you. I've been a fan for over 7 years. I first started listening to you as a joke and to laugh at you, but first time I checked into a couple things you mentioned, I found out you were not even exaggerating a bit, and I've been a fan ever since.
No, I'm not making stuff up. Sometimes I make mistakes, and it is true I'm a little eccentric, and I've probably gone crazy from the stress, but, you know.
I know that feeling, definitely. Well, I am here in Pinellas County, Florida, and just last weekend I went to a beautiful beach we have out here called Howard Beach. It's a state park, in fact. Very, very popular place, very crowded most of the time, and it was last week. I saw no oil. I was looking for some. I needed some for some lubricant, but I figured I might as well get it free while I could. No troops. I couldn't even find one of the police park guards anywhere. And I saw no sign of any problems whatsoever.
And you were able to walk. You were able to walk and breathe without government helping you.
Well, I think they might have been helping me without me knowing it. Thank God for them. But I swam in the water, went on my float.
Well, yeah, that's the issue is I've heard reporters from all over Florida going, I'm here looking for the oil. I don't see it. We're not allowed to fish.
Yeah.
They're telling us we can't swim.
Right.
Listen, finish up, Avon, and when we come back, or Avon, and then Jerry, John, Josh, Mike. We're going to get to you after this guest comes on. But I want to cover first, because we really haven't gone over it enough, the fact that it's just more and more admitted that Facebook and others are just government fronts.